He was a master at slipping punches and countering back with terrific combinations, a genius at the art of what insiders called boxing on a dime. All of his movement was from the waist up, giving his opponent the illusion of a fighter on the move. Boxing mastermind George Benton called him the smartest and toughest he ever fought, saying nobody could take a punch like... Joey Giardello was born Carmine Tellelli on July 16, 1930, in Brooklyn, New York. He was the third of 6 sons born to Joseph Tellelli, a foreman for the Department of Sanitation in New York. The young Carmine was known as a tough guy, using his fists against the neighborhood bullies of the East Flatbush section in Brooklyn. "I had many fights in the streets," Giardello said. "I couldn't stand some guy picking on a little kid. There was a crippled kid who lived across the street from us. Nobody could touch him when I was around." Nicknamed Chubby, Giardello didn't do well academically, and later went into trade school to become an auto mechanic. But Giardello admitted he never even learned how to unscrew a radiator cap. At the age of 16, he was persuaded by a friend to follow him into the army. The friend provided him with a birth certificate from a cousin, and Carmine Tellelli became Joseph Giardello. The underage soldier called his parents from Fort Dix, pleading with them to let him stay. Giardello was then transferred to Fort Bragg, where he took up boxing for the first time. His only motivation was to get a 3-day pass after he won a match. He also became part of the 82nd Airborne as a paratrooper, making quite a number of jumps. Giardello was discharged in 1948 and persuaded by a fellow soldier that he had a future in boxing. The man claimed to be related to heavyweight contender Ali Tor and convinced Giardello to come with him to Philadelphia for a future in the ring. "The first guy we met when we arrived in Philadelphia is Ali Tor," Giardello said. "But he don't know my guy from a hole in the wall. My guy's obviously a phony, but I'm here, so I stay." He entered Passyunk Gym, eventually hooking up with manager Jimmy Santori and trainer Joe Paulino. Giardello then got a job on a sewer digging project and was making $90 a week, but his hands became blistered from the work, so he couldn't train. Santori made him quit the ditch digging job and gave him a $25 a week stipend to train as a boxer. Giardello turned professional in October of 1948, campaigning on the tough East Coast circuit, and it didn't take him long to become noticed as a strong prospect. But 2.5 years under the strict discipline of manager Santori was too much for the partying Giardello, as the two parted ways in May of 1951. Now with a record of 33 wins against 6 losses, Giardello's contract was purchased by Carmen Graziano and Tony Ferrante. Ferrante was the nephew of Antonio Caponegro, also known as Tony Bananas, a mobster who was part of the Angelo Bruno crime family. Giardello's career then became a roller coaster ride of controversy. On December 19, 1952, he was awarded an unpopular decision over Billy Graham, and only minutes after the verdict was announced, the chairman of the New York State Athletic Commission changed the scoring of one of the judge's cards himself, giving Graham the win. Giardello's handlers filed suit, and a Supreme Court judge reversed the ruling, with Giardello once again declared as the official winner. The following year, Giardello lost to both Billy Graham and Johnny Saxton, in a bout that strangely saw one judge score 6 rounds even. Victories over Walter Cartier and the heavily hyped Willie Troy put him in line for a title shot against champion Bobo Olson, as he was now the #1 contender. But Rocky Castellani leapfrogged over him to get the title shot, and Giardello became both discouraged and moody. To make matters worse, he was involved in a car accident which left him with broken cartilage in his knee. Now hobbling around on crutches, he was forced to take a hiatus from boxing, losing whatever momentum he had. On October 29, 1954, Giardello and 3 of his friends pulled into a gas station in Philadelphia. Giardello refused to pay for the $3.05 gas bill and was confronted by an attendant named Howard Short. Giardello's friends punched and kicked Short, who threw a water bucket at his attackers. The next night, Giardello and his friends returned to the gas station. This go-around, one of his friends pulled a gun on Short and pistol-whipped him. Giardello then hit Short over the head with his wooden crutch. Turning their attention to the gas station owners, Frank Gallo and his wife, Giardello and his friends threw oil cans through the station's window and glass door. Giardello was arrested and sentenced to 6 to 18 months behind bars at Holmesburg Prison. Reporter Jim Murray wrote, "Most fighters nowadays serve their prison sentences before they go in the ring. Joey bucked a trend. He served his after he had been in the ring." While Giardello served out his sentence, his father died. The fighter was then released temporarily to attend the funeral. He swore over his father's casket that he would become a world champion, even though now many believed his career was over. Giardello was banned from fighting in New York because of, quote, his association with unsavory elements. It was revealed that Giardello had to pay off a $200 debt to Tony Bananas for a bet he placed on the Brooklyn Dodgers. Bananas' rap sheet included bootlegging, drugs, and murder. "I got a lot of undesirable associates," Giardello said. "I can't screen everybody I talk to." But there were more accusations to come. Giardello's opponent, Bobby Jones, testified that he was offered $15,000 to throw his fight against him. Giardello himself later admitted that he received an offer from mobsters in the early years of his career, as they offered to double his purse if he threw a fight. Not knowing how to deal with the mob, Giardello called for advice from his father, who told him, "If you can live with yourself, then go ahead and do it." Giardello remained silent and instead pulled out of the fight, claiming an injury. Once out of jail, Giardello became a changed man. One of his sons was born with Down syndrome, and he felt an added sense of responsibility to his family. Giardello raced back to the top of the middleweight rankings, defeating contenders like Bobby Boyd, Charlie Cotton, Randy Sandy, Rory Calhoun, and Chico Vijar, among others. The hot and cold fighter seemed to have turned the corner, but once again suffered untimely losses, this time to Joey Giardello and Tiger Jones, before he split 2 fights with Dick Tiger. In April of 1960, Giardello received a shot at Gene Fullmer for the middleweight title. Reporters described the bout as a battle of 2 bull moose, the fighters needing antlers more than gloves as the boxers repeatedly butted heads.
Giardello is in the black trunks and Fullmer is in white. Fullmer is butting in there and the referee warns him. The action continues with Joey going after Gene. Champion Fullmer using his head in there. Fullmer all over Joey Giardello. Referee Harry Kessler watching the action closely. Round 2 is very close, and ringsiders scored it evenly. Here in round 3, champion Gene Fullmer is all over Joey Giardello. Giardello complains to the referee that Fullmer's butting him. Joey uses his own head. Referee Kessler says, "No butting, Joey." Giardello tells the referee that Gene has been butting him. There's confusion in the ring. Referee Kessler doesn't know whether he wants this fight to continue. He's warning both men. The fight continues and both men are going at it. Gene Fullmer still using his head in there. Both men are bleeding profusely from cuts over their eyes. Fullmer pouring it on. And there's the bell, ending the round. 12 were fought bitterly, but were extremely close. This fight could go either way. This is the first time Joey has gone beyond a 10-round distance. Joey has gained the favor of this huge crowd. Champion Gene Fullmer trying to pull it out right here. Giardello coming right back. What a bitter grudge battle this is. And final round. Round 14 saw neither fighter gain a decided advantage, so that it's still anyone's fight. Both men seem very tired here in the 15th and final round. Both Fullmer and Giardello holding on. And there's the bell ending the fight.
Fullmer blamed Giardello for the headbutts, calling his behavior unsportsmanlike. Giardello explained that he only butted Fullmer after the champion butted him first. The fight was scored a draw. The fans booed the decision, but cheered when Giardello was carried from the ring on the shoulders of his handlers. "I got no respect for Fullmer," Giardello said. "When he was champion, you had to fight him in his own backyard where he had everything going for him. He even had his own ring. It was padded so thick you couldn't move, and it was about 14 feet square." While his excuses may have been valid, Giardello was running out of tomorrows. Now at 30 years old, he continued to campaign, but went on a 3-fight losing streak, dropping decisions to Terry Downs, Peter Muller, and Ralph Dupaz. In June of 1963, Giardello got his long-wished-for bout against Sugar Ray Robinson. But Robinson was now 42 years old. The win allowed Giardello to get a title shot against Dick Tiger, as Tiger's manager, Jersey Jones, felt it was proper payback for Giardello, who took on Tiger 4 years earlier when he was the #1 contender. The pattern for the fight was established early on. Tiger followed Giardello around the ring, not throwing any punches, and when he did, he found himself being countered by lefts and rights. Giardello skipped back to his corner after the 14th round, knowing he had the fight won. At the final bell, Giardello's cornermen didn't wait for the decision to be announced. They picked him up and hoisted the new champion on their shoulders. After the bout, a ringside Giardello supporter said, "15 years of nothing, but he finally won it, didn't he?" Giardello himself said, "It was one of the greatest fights I ever fought. I don't think I made a mistake all night. If I didn't win that fight, that was going to be the end for me. After 15 years of boxing, it was all or nothing." 4 months later, Giardello took an unpopular decision win over Rocky Rivero in a non-title match, before defeating him again a month later. He then signed to face the feared Rubin Hurricane Carter. Carter had his beard cut Mongolian style to enhance his intimidating appearance. Giardello's handlers lobbied to have Carter cut his beard before the bout. Giardello's trainer, Adolf Rattacco, said that Carter's beard could be used like needles. His cut man Joe Polino said, "It's unsanitary. They could put a powder in it that would get in Joey's eyes." Giardello, meanwhile, wasn't worried about the beard. "But now that I know it bugs him," Giardello said, "I want him to take it off. I want to burn him up, aggravate him." Giardello won a unanimous decision. The three judges had him up by 3, 5, and 6 points by fight's end. The Associated Press had it a lot closer, scoring at 69-68, or 7 rounds to 5, in favor of Giardello, with 3 even. 15 of the 20 ringside reporters scored the bout in favor of Giardello. 10 months later, Giardello defended his belt in a return match against Dick Tiger for $75,000, his biggest payday to date. The two ancient warriors went at it once again. Giardello was 35 years old, and Tiger was 36.
One of the criticisms of Dick Tiger with his back to the camera is that he does not land very hard when he starts his flurry. The referee beginning to count here. Tiger wants to fight inside.
And this is going to be really a humdinger from the way it looks right now. Oh!
Giardello was nailed well by Tiger. He still appears to be shaking the knee. He may be in trouble. 1 minute to go in round 2.
Tiger's really fighting like a tiger right now, like a real tiger.
A right to the jaw by Tiger did most of the damage against Giardello, but Joey is well trained. Tiger said he would be more aggressive in this fight, and he certainly is. Giardello weathering the storm with seconds left to go in round 2. 10 seconds to go, round 2.
Tiger is still bulldogging Giardello, still moving on him all the time, doesn't give him a chance to breathe.
Both men have been powerhousing in the closing seconds of each round these last 3 or 4 rounds.
Well, that's because I guess they both know by this time.
Giardello's best blow in the last 3 rounds. Solid left hook to the chin of Tiger. That landed flush. But it doesn't hurt Tiger's power much. He was a strong guy.
Good round.
As Giardello has only 30 seconds more to reckon with history. Tiger chased him for close to 2 years to try to get his crown back again. There's an international story in this picture as well. There are 10 seconds left to go for the World's Middleweight Championship. These fighters will get a well-deserved hand as we hit the final mark. That's it.
And Joey finishes strong with the 2.
That's the end of the fight. We'll have the decision in just a moment.
For Tiger, Tony Castellano has an 8-6-1 for Tiger. The winner, and once again, the middleweight champion of the world, Dick Tiger.
Well, I've definitely retired, and I feel very good about it. I thought it was going to be a little harder to retire, but it seems that it's come pretty easy. If you plan something, it doesn't work out. You have to do it at the spur of the moment, and I've done it.
There was some talk here today that the possibility of you fighting in Italy, that's definitely out.
Yes, I've been offered $25,000 to go over in Italy, but I just can't see no sense in it because, like I said last night, I have all my marbles and everything. I have 4 beautiful children, I think it's about time I ducked out after 18 years.
Speaking of those 4 beautiful children, here's one right here, Paulie. Is he going to be a fighter?
You gonna be a fighter, Paul? Yeah.
His retirement lasted only a year. Giardello returned at the age of 36, fighting 4 more times before calling it quits after handing the undefeated Jack Rogers his first loss. "Yeah, I beat him," Giardello said, "but I was punching at the air. I knew it was time to quit." A movie about his life was proposed to him by John Meekum, former owner of the New Orleans Saints. "Frankie Avalon wanted to play me," Giardello said. "I didn't want to do it. It'd be about jail and they want to put a lot of women in it. It hurt my family." Giardello returned to a quiet life in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, not having saved much from his fighting days. He didn't have a trade outside of boxing and turned to friends to find him work. "I could have gotten Joey a job in a warehouse," said one businessman friend. "But what kind of thing is that? A champ working in a warehouse?" Giardello instead found work selling insurance, then industrial chemicals before finding a career with the New Jersey Department of Weights and Measures. Giardello was elected into the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1993, and once again returned to the public eye in 1999 when Denzel Washington starred in the film The Hurricane, a biographical movie based on Reuben Carter. Giardello filed a defamation lawsuit against the filmmakers because they suggested that he had won his decision over Hurricane Carter unfairly, providing a factually inaccurate account of the fight. Giardello settled the suit for undisclosed terms. "I beat Carter fair and square," Giardello said. "I just wanted to set the record straight." Giardello spent the rest of his years devoted to his wife and sons, with special attention to Carmen Jr., who was born with Down syndrome. Giardello spent his retirement as a tireless advocate for special needs children and helped to promote the Special Olympics. Giardello died in a nursing home in Cherry Hill in 2008. His son Carmen died 6 years later. Once before an important fight, Carmen didn't want his father to leave. Giardello said, "I told him I had to fight. He said, 'Don't fight, Daddy. Come home.' I said, 'You know Daddy might lose.' He said, 'Daddy, don't lose nothing.'"